lagi begini membuat lagu. Oke, dengarkan. When I look at the sky above, I see you in my eyes. All the things have a different shape, the shape of your face and smile. So I smile and I fly to sky above. Try